It wasn't carrying darkness. It carried a tiny silver ribbon. The raven bowed before Selene, then dissolved into sparkling feathers. The ribbon floated gently into her paw. Attached to it was a letter. The handwriting was elegant, precise, beautiful. Selene unfolded it. If you are reading this, then Lucien has finally revealed himself. She frowned. There was no signature. She continued reading. Do not return to the palace. That is exactly what he wants. Come instead to the Shadow Peaks. It is time we finally meet. Only then, at the very bottom, appeared a name. Ilara. Everyone stared. The first queen. Maribel whispered. She's alive. Aurelius's sword slipped from his paws. For the first time in 800 years, tears rolled freely down his face. I searched every mountain, every cave. I thought she died because of me. Selene folded the letter carefully. No, she survived. And I think she's been waiting. Cassian pointed toward the northern horizon. The Shadow Peaks, dark mountains pierced the clouds. Their snowy summits glittered beneath the evening sun. No roads led there. No villages stood nearby. Every map simply labeled the region. Forbidden. Before anyone could speak again, the crystal seed burst open. Instead of shattering, it bloomed. A single luminous flower unfolded from its center. Its petals slowly turned north, toward the Shadow Peaks. Like a compass, Selene smiled. I guess we know where we're going. Far away, deep beneath the Shadow Peaks, an enormous stone door slowly opened. Sunlight entered a chamber that had remained dark for 8 centuries. An elegant silver-furred queen stood from a throne of living crystal vines. She had not aged a single day. She looked toward the light, smiled softly, and whispered, Welcome home, my little heart keeper. The journey to the Shadow Peaks took 3 days. No roads led there. Only forgotten trails winding through pastel forests, crystal canyons, and floating stone bridges reclaimed by nature. The further they traveled, the quieter the world became. Even the crystal birds refused to fly beyond the mountain range. On the morning of the 3rd day, snow began to fall. Not ordinary snow. Each snowflake shimmered like tiny stars. When they landed on flowers, the flowers bloomed instantly. Cassian caught one on his paw. It still carries heart magic. Maribel smiled, which means she really is here. Aurelius walked in silence. Every step grew heavier. For 800 years, he had carried one question. Was she alive? Now, he feared another. Would she ever forgive him? The crystal flower inside Selene's satchel glowed brighter. Its petals slowly opened, one by one, until they all pointed toward a towering cliff. There was nothing there, only smooth white stone. Selene stepped forward. She gently placed her paw against the cliff. Warmth spread through the rock. Ancient runes awakened beneath the snow. Golden vines climbed across the stone wall. An enormous doorway slowly appeared. It had been invisible for centuries. The gates opened without a sound. Warm sunlight poured from inside. Orion blinked. How? Is there sunlight inside a mountain? Maribel smiled. Because it isn't a prison. It's a sanctuary. They entered cautiously. None of them expected what waited inside. Instead of cold caves, they found an entire hidden valley. Pastel cherry blossom trees swayed in a gentle breeze. Crystal rivers flowed through emerald grass. Hundreds of butterflies drifted lazily between flowering gardens. Small cottages stood beside winding paths. Children laughed as they played beside a sparkling lake. Elderly cats painted. Gardeners tended flowers. Musicians played soft melodies beneath flowering trees. It was peaceful, beautiful, alive. Selene stopped walking. There are people here. Thousands. Not prisoners. Not soldiers. Families. Generations of them. One little kitten noticed the newcomers. She smiled brightly and waved. Welcome! Then ran off to tell the others. Within moments, the valley filled with curious faces. Nobody looked frightened. Nobody reached for weapons. They simply smiled. Cassian whispered, I've never seen a village like this. Maribel quietly answered, Neither has the outside world. An elderly gray cat approached them with a basket of fresh fruit. You must be tired. He offered the basket before even asking their names. Selene blinked. You don't know who we are. The old cat laughed. You looked hungry. Orion chuckled softly. I like this place already. As they followed the winding stone path, the villagers greeted everyone they passed. Some offered flowers. Others waved. One elderly grandmother insisted Orion take an extra scarf because mountain mornings are colder than you think. Cassian leaned toward Selene. Do strangers always get treated like family here? The grandmother overheard. She smiled. That's how strangers become family. Cassian had absolutely no reply. At the center of the valley stood a magnificent crystal greenhouse larger than the royal palace itself. Its glass shimmered with soft rainbow colors. Inside, thousands upon thousands of flowers bloomed. Every species Selene had ever seen, and many she'd never imagined. The doors slowly opened. A graceful silver-furred cat stepped outside. She wore no crown, only a simple white dress embroidered with tiny crystal blossoms. Her long silver hair was tied with a pale blue ribbon. Her emerald eyes sparkled with warmth. She looked no older than 30. Queen Elara. She smiled, not like a queen greeting visitors, like a mother welcoming children home. Selene. Her voice was gentle. I've waited a very long time to meet you. Selene felt tears sting her eyes. For reasons she couldn't explain, being near Elara felt familiar. Safe. Elara stepped forward. She embraced Selene. Warmly. Without hesitation. Welcome home. No magic. No prophecy. Just kindness. Aurelius stood several feet away, unable to move. His hands trembled. Elara! She slowly turned toward him. Their eyes met for the first time in 800 years. Silence filled the valley. Even the birds stopped singing. Aurelius fell to both knees. I'm sorry. No excuses. No explanations. Only those 2 words. I was afraid. I stopped listening. I hurt the person who trusted me most. Tears fell onto the stone path. I don't deserve forgiveness. Elara quietly walked toward him. She knelt beside him, lifted his chin, looked directly into his eyes. I know. Aurelius closed his eyes. Then, she hugged him. The entire valley watched. Not one cat spoke. I forgave you, she whispered. A very long time ago. Aurelius broke down completely. 8 centuries of guilt. Finally released. Nearby, Cashin discreetly wiped away a tear. Orion noticed. You crying? Cashin immediately looked offended. It's snow. We're inside. Very emotional snow. Selene laughed. Even Maribel smiled. The tension melted away. Later that evening, everyone gathered inside the crystal greenhouse. Long wooden tables filled the room. Fresh bread, warm soup, fruit, honey cakes, tea. No royal seating. No throne. Everyone sat together. As dinner ended, Elara stood. The room became quiet. I know why you've come. She looked at Selene. You want to stop Lucian? Selene nodded. And the Hollow. Elara's gentle expression became serious. You cannot defeat them. The room fell silent. You can only heal what created them. She walked toward the center of the greenhouse. There, growing beneath the glass floor, was another heart tree, much larger than the one beneath the palace. Its roots stretched impossibly deep into the mountain. This, Elara said softly, is the original heart tree. It was never beneath the palace. The palace was built around only one of its roots. Everyone stared in amazement. The real heart has always been here. Selene looked at the enormous tree. Its trunk shimmered with countless colors. But deep inside, she noticed something. A single black root, slowly spreading through the tree. Elara followed her gaze. Yes, Lucian has finally found it. At that exact moment, a deafening explosion echoed through the mountains. The entire greenhouse shook. Crystal glass cracked overhead. Outside, the peaceful valley erupted into screams. A lookout rushed through the doors, breathless, terrified. They're here. Who? Orion asked. The lookout looked toward Elara. His voice barely rose above a whisper. Lucian, and an army of corrupted wardens. Elara closed her eyes. She had hoped there would be one more peaceful night. Instead, the final battle had come to her doorstep. The warning bell echoed across the hidden valley. Once, twice, 3 times. The peaceful village transformed instantly. Not into panic, into purpose. The gardeners carefully carried children into crystal shelters hidden beneath the hills. The musicians packed medical supplies instead of instruments. Teachers gathered every kitten together, telling stories to keep them calm. The bakers lit enormous stone ovens, not to make bread, to prepare warm food for anyone who returned from the battle. Selene watched in amazement. No one is afraid. An elderly grandmother smiled while tying an apron around her waist. Oh, we're terrified. She winked. But frightened paws can still help. Selene smiled. That sentence stayed with her. Outside the valley, dark clouds rolled over the mountains. The bright pastel sky slowly disappeared beneath swirling black crystal storms. Lightning flashed between floating peaks. Snow turned gray before it touched the ground. Flowers folded their petals. Even the butterflies disappeared. Then, the first warden appeared. Not corrupted. Broken. It was a gigantic crystal bear. Nearly 70 feet tall. Its once beautiful sapphire body was now covered with jagged black fractures. Every breath escaped as dark mist. Its glowing blue eyes had become crimson. Behind it, another warden emerged. A massive stag with crystal antlers stretching like tree branches across the sky. Corruption wrapped around its legs like chains. Each step caused flowers to wilt. Then another. A giant eagle whose wings blocked out the sun. A serpent that wound around an entire mountain. A wolf carved from silver crystal. A towering elephant whose tusks glowed black instead of gold. 6 wardens. Only one remained free. The first warden, still recovering beside Meadow District. The valley gates slowly opened. Elara stepped forward alone. No weapon. No armor. Only her white dress and a single crystal blossom in her paw. Selene hurried after her. You can't face them alone. Elara smiled gently. I'm not going to fight. The corrupted warden stopped walking. For a brief moment, their crimson eyes flickered. They remembered her. The crystal bear lowered its enormous head. A soft golden glow appeared inside one eye. Queen! The corruption immediately tightened around its neck. It roared in pain. Lucien's voice echoed from every direction. Do not listen! The wardens screamed together. Not in anger. In agony. Every one of them tried to stop walking. None of them could. Elara closed her eyes. I'm so sorry. She slowly raised the crystal blossom. The tiny flower floated into the air. It became hundreds, then thousands. Crystal petals drifted across the battlefield like gentle snow. Every petal that landed on a corrupted warden briefly restored part of its original color. The crystal bear remembered laughing with children. The eagle remembered carrying travelers across storms. The serpent remembered protecting rivers. The wolf remembered guiding lost families home. For one beautiful moment, all 6 wardens stood peacefully together. Lucien appeared atop a distant cliff. His black armor shimmered beneath the storm. Beside him, the hollow slowly rose from a shadow. The two no longer looked separate. Dark crystal veins connected them. Each passing second, they merged a little more. Lucien clapped slowly. Beautiful! Truly beautiful! Then his smile vanished. But memories are fragile. He lifted one hand. The black crystal storm exploded. Dark lightning struck every warden simultaneously. Their peaceful expressions disappeared. The corruption returned stronger than before. The crystal bear roared. It charged directly toward Elara. Selene ran. No! Before anyone could reach her, the enormous paw stopped only inches from Elara. The bear trembled violently. Its entire body shook. Its muscles fought against the corruption. One massive tear rolled down its crystal face. Run! It couldn't move anymore. It couldn't attack. It couldn't stop itself. Selene looked into its frightened crimson eyes. She saw no hatred, only desperation. Then she noticed something. Exactly like the first warden. A black crystal spear pierced its chest. She looked at the other wardens. Another spear. Another. Another. Every single one had been bound by the same weapon. They're prisoners, she whispered. We've been fighting prisoners. Cashin looked toward Lucien. So that's why you sealed the first warden. You weren't attacking him. You were stopping the spear from spreading. Cashin nodded grimly. I just never knew how to remove it safely. Orion suddenly spoke. The ribbon. Everyone turned. The children's ribbon healed the first warden. Selene's eyes widened. It wasn't the ribbon. It was what the ribbon represented. Hope. Trust. Love freely given. The spears weren't feeding on magic. They were feeding on despair. Selene slowly stepped toward the crystal bear. Despite everyone shouting for her to stop, she gently placed both paws against the enormous black spear. The corruption immediately spread onto her arms. Dark veins climbed toward her shoulders. Pain shot through her body. Princess! Orion shouted. Elara reached forward. Selene! But Selene didn't let go. Instead, she closed her eyes. I know you're scared. I know you're tired. And I know you've been carrying this alone. The crystal bear's breathing slowed. You don't have to anymore. Golden light spread from Selene's paws. Not powerful. Gentle. Around them, the villagers stepped forward. Then the children. Then the healers. Then the bakers. Then the teachers. One by one, they each placed a paw on the next person beside them. A chain of kindness stretched across the valley. The light traveled from cat to cat until it reached Selene, then flowed into the spear. Crack! A tiny fracture appeared. Lucien's confident smile disappeared. No, he whispered. That shouldn't be possible. Crack! Another fracture. Then another. The black spear exploded into harmless crystal dust. The bear's crimson eyes instantly turned brilliant sapphire. It collapsed to both knees. Not defeated. Free. The valley erupted into cheers. But Lucien didn't panic. He laughed. A quiet, satisfied laugh. Excellent. You've learned how to save one. He slowly raised both hands toward the sky. Now, save the other 5. Before midnight, the mountains shook. The remaining 5 corrupted wardens turned and fled in 5 different directions across Starhaven. One toward the northern forests, one toward the western sea cliffs, one toward the crystal desert, one toward the sky bridges, one toward the royal capital. Selene stared in disbelief. They're splitting up. Lucien smiled. You wanted to save everyone. So, let's see if your hope can be everywhere at once. The race to save Starhaven had truly begun. The 5 wardens scattered across Starhaven. Each one moved like a natural disaster. The crystal eagle soared toward the sky bridges. The serpent disappeared into the crystal desert. The silver wolf raced across the northern forest. The great stag thundered toward the sea cliffs. The crystal elephant marched directly for the royal capital. Within seconds, they were gone. Silence settled over the valley. Only the cold mountain wind remained. Selene stared at the horizon. 5 different directions. 5 impossible choices. Orion quietly asked, which one do we follow? No one answered. Because there wasn't a right answer. Cashin unfolded the ancient map. 5 crystal anchors pulsed crimson. Each pulse grew faster. We can't reach them all, he said. Maribel nodded. Not before midnight. Lucien's laughter echoed from the cliffs. Exactly. You can save 1. Perhaps 2. But while you're busy choosing, the others will fall. The hollow drifted behind him like living smoke. And every choice will cost someone. Lucien vanished into the storm. The valley became quiet again. Selene lowered her head. For the first time, she felt completely overwhelmed. She had spent her second life trying to become the one who saved everyone. Now, she couldn't. A tiny paw gently tugged at her sleeve. It was the same kitten who had refused to leave his grandmother behind in Meadow District. Princess, Selene knelt. Yes. The kitten frowned. Why do you look sad? Because, Selene admitted, I don't know how to save everyone. The kitten thought for a long moment, then smiled. You don't have to. Selene blinked. What do you mean? The kitten pointed toward the villagers. You taught us. Now, it's our turn. Before Selene could respond, the village bell rang. Not an alarm, a gathering bell. Every villager assembled in the square. Wordlessly, the elderly baker stepped forward first. The princess is right. No single hero saves a kingdom. He looked around. So let's stop acting like there needs to be one. The carpenter nodded. I know the Western Sea cliffs. I'll go. The mountain guide stepped forward. We know every trail through the northern forests. We'll protect that anchor. A group of crystal glider pilots raised their paws. We can reach the sky bridges before sunset. The healer spoke next. We'll travel with every team. Blacksmiths, teachers, farmers, artists, musicians, couriers. Hundreds of ordinary cats stepped forward. Not because they were warriors. Because they cared. Selene watched in stunned silence. Maribel smiled. They've remembered. Aurelius quietly whispered. This is the kingdom Alaran I dreamed of. Within an hour, the peaceful valley became a place of preparation. Not for war. For service. Maps covered wooden tables. Messengers flew in every direction. Cooks packed meals for travelers. Children painted colorful banners so rescue teams could recognize one another from the air. Engineers repaired old crystal gliders. Boat builders prepared floating river craft. Every cat asked the same question. Where am I needed? No one asked. What's in it for me? Selene stood in the center of it all, watching, listening, learning. Then she realized something. She wasn't leading anymore. She was simply helping everyone else lead. Ilara walked beside her. You finally understand. Selene smiled. I thought a heart keeper carried the kingdom. Ilara shook her head gently. No. A heart keeper reminds the kingdom that it can carry itself. A warm breeze drifted through the valley. The original heart tree glowed brighter. Its leaves shimmered like tiny stars. For the first time, the black roots stopped spreading. Then, something extraordinary happened. Across Starhaven, other villages began receiving the crystal letters. In the capital, citizens read about Meadow District. Instead of fleeing, they began strengthening bridges. Along the western coast, fishing crews turned their boats into rescue vessels. In the northern forests, lumber workers built emergency shelters. Schoolchildren planted flowers around old shrines. Doctors volunteered to travel to distant islands. Neighbors who hadn't spoken in years shared meals. Families reopened forgotten community gardens. Every act, no matter how small, sent another pulse of light into the heart crystal. High above the clouds, the enormous crystal slowly transformed. Its old fractures began closing. Soft golden light spread through every floating island. Even the sky became brighter. Far away, Lucien stood alone atop the ruins of an ancient watchtower. He watched the light spread across the kingdom. His confident expression slowly disappeared. This isn't possible. The hollow circled him. They're changing too quickly. Lucien clenched his fists. No. They're remembering her. The hollow's voice became sharper. Then stop them. Lucien looked toward the royal capital. I will. He raised both hands toward the clouds. Dark crystal lightning exploded across the sky. Every crystal messenger bird suddenly froze mid-flight. Then, one by one, they fell from the heavens like rain. Thousands of glowing birds crashed into forests, fields, rivers, and villages. The kingdom looked up in horror as its connection to one another was severed. Back in the hidden valley, one exhausted messenger stumbled into the square. He could barely breathe. The capital, he gasped. The crystal elephant has reached the city. He swallowed hard. And Princess Celestia is standing alone in front of it. The royal capital had never looked so small. Towering crystal towers reflected the evening sun. Colorful markets stood abandoned. Bridges that were once filled with music now stood silent. Every citizen had gathered in the central square. Nobody ran. Nobody hid. They simply watched. Because marching toward them was the crystal elephant. Each step echoed across the city. Ancient buildings trembled. Crystal windows shattered. The floating canals rippled violently. Its enormous black tusks glowed with corruption. Its crimson eyes never blinked. Behind the creature, dark clouds swallowed the sunset. At the front gate, one figure stood alone. Princess Celestia. She wore no royal robes, no jeweled crown, no ceremonial cape, only simple traveling clothes beneath a silver breastplate. Her long cream-colored fur was tied neatly behind her. A plain sword rested at her side. A captain hurried toward her. Your Highness, the evacuation is ready. We have a carriage waiting. Celestia shook her head. No. The captain looked stunned. We don't have time. You must leave. Celestia smiled gently. If I leave first, everyone else will too. She turned toward the frightened citizens. For years, I believed being a princess meant standing above everyone. She laughed softly. I was very wrong. She stepped down from the palace stairs until she stood beside the citizens instead of above them. If Starhaven asks courage from its people, then the royal family should be first to answer. The crowd became completely silent. An elderly florist slowly walked beside her. You shouldn't stand here alone. I'm old. I've had a wonderful life. If someone must stand beside you, let it be me. A young baker joined them. So will I. Then a tailor. Then a librarian. Then an apprentice carpenter. Then dozens. Then hundreds. Within minutes, thousands of citizens stood shoulder to shoulder with their princess. No one carried hatred, only determination. The crystal elephant stopped. Its enormous ears twitched. Deep inside, its sapphire eye flickered. Just once. Run. It whispered. Its voice sounded like grinding stone. Celestia took another step forward. No. She looked directly into its eyes. We're staying with you. The corruption immediately tightened around the spear embedded in its chest. Black crystals spread across its body. The elephant screamed. The sound echoed across the capital. Far away, Selene heard it. She froze. Celestia. Cashin looked toward the capital. We're too far away. We'll never reach her. Selene closed her eyes. Every instinct told her to run, to save her sister. But she remembered Alara's words. A heart keeper reminds the kingdom that it can carry itself. Slowly, she opened her eyes. No. Cashin blinked. What? I trust her. Orion smiled. She's grown. Maribel nodded proudly. So have you. Back at the capital, the crystal elephant lifted one enormous foot, preparing to take another step. Celestia didn't move. Instead, she slowly removed her sword. The captain gasped. Princess! She placed the sword on the ground. Everyone stared. Then, she removed her shield, placed it beside the sword. Finally, she removed the royal crest from her armor and set it beside the others. The crystal elephant hesitated. I won't fight you, Celestia said quietly. I know this isn't who you are. She continued walking, unarmed, toward a creature large enough to crush the palace. The captain covered his eyes, unable to watch. The citizens held their breath. The elephant lowered its head. Its trunk trembled violently. You should hate me. Celestia smiled sadly. Why? Because I failed. My queen. Tears rolled from its crystal eyes. The corruption wrapped tighter around the spear. Trying to silence it, Celestia reached out. Her paw rested gently against the ancient black crystal. You've carried this burden long enough. Nothing happened. She closed her eyes. When I was younger, I wanted everyone to admire me. I wanted to be perfect. I thought mistakes made me weak. She smiled through tears. But someone taught me that admitting you're wrong is the first brave thing you can do. She looked toward the citizens behind her. So today, I'm not standing here as your princess. I'm standing here as your friend. Behind her, without being asked, thousands of citizens quietly joined pause, exactly as Meadow District had done. Golden threads appeared, one after another, until the entire capital glowed. The warmth reached Celestia, then flowed into the black spear. Crack! A tiny fracture appeared. The elephant looked down, confused. Crack! Another, then another. The spear shattered into sparkling dust. The corruption dissolved like mist beneath the morning sun. The elephant's crimson eyes became a brilliant ocean blue. It slowly lowered itself onto both knees, until its forehead touched the ground before the citizens. I remember. The capital erupted into joyful cheers. Some laughed, others cried openly. Children ran forward to place flowers around the great guardian's feet. Far away, Lucian staggered. He grabbed the edge of a ruined tower to keep himself standing. No! They've freed another. The hollow appeared beside him. Its voice had become noticeably weaker. Our time is running out. Lucian looked toward the distant shadow peaks. The original heart tree glowed, so brightly it could now be seen from every corner of Starhaven. He slowly smiled. A cold, calculated smile. Then we stopped playing defense. He lifted both hands toward the glowing tree. The ground beneath the shadow peaks began to shake. Deep below the roots of the original heart tree, something ancient opened its eyes. Something that even Alara believed had become nothing more than a legend. In the hidden valley, The entire heart tree suddenly trembled. Every leaf turned toward the earth. Ilara's peaceful expression vanished. For the first time, fear crossed her face. She whispered, "He found the seventh warden." The original heart tree trembled, not from the storm outside, from something beneath it. Its roots twisted deep into the mountain. Leaves of gold and silver drifted silently to the ground. One by one, every flower in the greenhouse closed its petals. Ilara slowly reached toward the trunk. The moment her paw touched the bark, her face turned pale. "No," she whispered. Selene hurried to her side. "What is it?" Ilara looked toward the deepest part of the valley, toward an ancient hill covered in wildflowers. It looked ordinary, peaceful, beautiful. "It isn't a hill." Everyone turned. "What do you mean?" Orion asked. Ilara closed her eyes. "That's where we buried him." Cashin frowned. "Him? The seventh warden?" Silence spread through the greenhouse. Maribel slowly stepped backward. "I thought he never existed." Ilara nodded. "That's what I wanted everyone to believe." The ground shook again, harder this time. Crystal glasses slid from the tables. Children outside stopped laughing. Birds burst into the sky. A deep, steady heartbeat echoed through the valley. Thump, thump, thump. Not the heart tree. Something else. Aurelius slowly looked toward the hill. "I begged you to destroy him." Ilara quietly answered. "I couldn't." Selene looked between them. "Someone tell me what's happening." Ilara took a long breath. When the 6 wardens were created, they were each given one purpose. Protect the rivers. Protect the forests. Protect the mountains. Protect the skies. Protect the kingdom. She paused. The 7th had only one duty. Protect the heart itself. The room became still. He was stronger than all the others combined. Faster. Wiser. And completely loyal. Cashin quietly asked, "So why bury him?" Ilara's eyes filled with sadness. "Because loyalty became obsession." Another memory bloomed from the heart tree. Everyone watched. A magnificent guardian stood beneath a young heart tree centuries ago. Unlike the other wardens, he wasn't made from stone, nor crystal. His body shimmered like polished moonlight. White crystal flowed through silver armor naturally grown from his own body. Massive feathered wings stretched behind him. His eyes glowed brilliant gold. Around his neck rested a living crystal crown. He looked less like a beast, and more like an ancient king. Children laughed as they climbed onto his shoulders. He carried entire families through the sky. He planted forests, lifted floating islands into place, built rivers, helped villages after storms. Everywhere he walked, life followed. He loved this kingdom. Ilara whispered. He loved all of us. The memory changed. Lucian stood beneath the heart tree, smiling, speaking softly to the great guardian. No one heard the words, only saw the change. The warden's smile faded. He looked toward the heart tree, then toward the kingdom, then back again. Fear appeared in his eyes. Lucian kept speaking, patiently, calmly. Finally, the great guardian spread his wings, not to protect, to imprison. Crystal walls surrounded the heart tree. No one could approach it, not even Ilara. The 7th warden believed, if no one could reach the heart, no one could ever corrupt it. He stopped trusting everyone. Maribel whispered. Ilara nodded. Lucian convinced him that love made the heart vulnerable. He believed isolation was protection. The memory ended. Aurelius lowered his head. We couldn't defeat him. So together, we placed him into a deep sleep, hidden beneath the mountain. The heartbeat grew louder. Thump, thump, thump. Cracks spread across the grassy hill outside. Wildflowers gently lifted into the air. Not from wind, from power. Lucian's voice echoed through the valley. You taught your kingdom kindness. Well done. But kindness cannot reason with certainty. The hollow emerged beside him atop the cliffs. Smaller now, less stable. Its body flickered like a dying flame. The 7th still believes. Only absolute control can save the heart. Lucian smiled. And this time, no spear is needed. The earth exploded. The peaceful hill shattered into thousands of crystal fragments. An enormous wing burst from beneath the ground. White, brilliant, magnificent. Then another. The mountains shook as an immense figure slowly rose into the evening sky. His wings stretched wider than the valley itself. Moonlight reflected across polished crystal armor. His golden eyes slowly opened. Calm, ancient, unreadable. No corruption. No black crystal. No crimson eyes. He was completely pure. And somehow, that frightened Ilara more than any monster. The guardian looked down at the gathered cats. His deep voice echoed across the mountains. Identify yourselves. Ilara stepped forward. My old friend. It's me. The guardian looked at her. Recognition flickered, then disappeared. Queen Ilara. Confirmed. His gaze shifted to Aurelius. King Aurelius. Confirmed. Then, his eyes settled on Selene. The Heartkeeper's mark glowed softly. He tilted his head. Unknown variable detected. Selene swallowed. My name is Selene. I've come to save Starhaven. The Guardian's expression never changed. Incorrect. The kingdom is the greatest threat to the heart. The heart must be protected. From everyone. Golden crystal rose from the earth. Not attacking. Building. Towering walls began surrounding the original heart tree. One layer. Then another. Then another. He wasn't trying to destroy the heart. He was sealing it away forever. Cashin whispered in horror. If he finishes, the heart will never reach another generation. Children yet to be born. Villages yet to exist. Every future heart keeper. All cut off forever. Selene stepped toward the giant guardian. You don't have to do this. For the first time, the seventh warden looked directly into her eyes. His voice softened, almost sadly. I have watched 800 years of betrayal. I have watched kings fail. I have watched fear spread. My creators imprisoned one another. My kingdom forgot its own history. My queen was betrayed. My king surrendered to fear. I have reached only one logical conclusion. He slowly folded his enormous wings around the heart tree. The final wall of crystal began to rise. The heart, he whispered, must never trust another cat again. Selene looked up at the ancient guardian. She finally understood. He wasn't evil. He wasn't corrupted. He had simply lost faith. And somehow, that would be the hardest battle of all. The crystal walls continued rising, layer after layer, each one taller than the last. Soon, the original heart tree could barely be seen through the shimmering fortress surrounding it. The seventh warden stood silently before the entrance. His enormous wings folded neatly behind him. He wasn't preparing for battle. He believed the battle had already ended. Selene stepped closer. You don't have to lock everyone out. The guardian looked down at her. I have already reached the only safe conclusion. No heart can be corrupted. If no heart can reach the heart. His voice carried no anger, no hatred, only certainty. Ilara slowly walked beside Selene. Do you remember the spring festival? The guardian remained still. The children decorated your wings with flowers. A tiny flicker crossed his face. I remember. You laughed. I remember. You danced with them. I remember. Ilara smiled sadly. Then remember why. The guardian fell silent. They trusted me. And I failed them. No. Ilara answered gently. You protected them for centuries. You only failed when you stopped believing they could protect one another. The guardian looked toward the distant horizon. Beyond the mountains, golden lights shimmered across Starhaven. Thousands of tiny lights. Villages. Homes. Families. They forgot. Ilara nodded. Yes, they did. And now they're remembering. The guardian slowly closed his eyes. Too late. Before anyone could reply, a streak of black crystal lightning crashed into the valley. The impact sent everyone stumbling. Flowers scattered across the ground. The crystal walls trembled. Lucian landed gracefully atop the highest wall. The hollow flowed around him like a living cloak. Together, they looked almost whole. He applauded slowly. What a touching reunion. I almost believed it myself. Selene stepped in front of Ilara. This ends today. Lucian smiled. It already has. He pointed toward the sky. Everyone looked up. Across Starhaven, 5 brilliant pillars of golden light suddenly appeared. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The remaining 5 wardens. Their corruption had vanished. The rescue teams had succeeded. The villagers, the healers, the teachers, the fishermen, the blacksmiths, the ordinary cats of Starhaven had freed every single guardian. Cheers echoed across the mountains. Maribel laughed through tears. They did it. They actually did it. Even Aurelia smiled. My kingdom came home. Lucian's smile disappeared. For the first time, his carefully planned future had slipped beyond his control. No. They were supposed to choose themselves. They were supposed to abandon strangers. They were supposed to panic. They always panic. The hollow suddenly recoiled. Its body shrank noticeably. Cracks spread across its dark crystal form. Our fear, it hissed, is disappearing. Lucian clenched his fists. No. I still have one move. He lifted both hands. Dark crystal exploded beneath his feet. Instead of attacking the kingdom, the energy rushed directly toward him. The hollow looked confused. What are you doing? Lucian smiled. A smile unlike any before. Peaceful. Resolved. I'm finishing what I started. The hollow's eyes widened. No. You need me. Lucian shook his head. I never did. Before the hollow could escape, Lucian embraced it. The shadow screamed. It tried to pull away, but Lucian held on. Black crystal raced across his body. Golden light erupted from the heart tree. The mountain shook. The sky split with light. Selene realized what was happening. He's merging with it. Cashin looked horrified. If he succeeds, there won't be 2 enemies anymore. There'll only be one. A blinding flash consumed the valley. For several long seconds, no one could see. When the light faded, Lucian stood alone. The hollow had vanished. Every trace of darkness now flowed beneath his skin like rivers of black crystal. His eyes shimmered with both crimson and gold. He looked at his own paws, almost curious. So, This is what balance feels like. He raised one hand. Without effort, the crystal walls surrounding the heart tree began breaking apart. Not because he attacked them, because the heart itself responded to him. The seventh warden spread his wings protectively. Step away from the heart. Lucien looked up. I can't. I am part of it now. The heart tree suddenly pulsed. Once. Twice. 3 times. Then, something impossible happened. The tree didn't answer Lucien. It answered Selene. A single golden leaf drifted gently from the highest branch. It floated through the battlefield, past Aurelius, past Elara, past Cassian, past Orion, until it landed softly in Selene's paw. The Heartkeeper's mark glowed brighter than ever before. The seventh warden stared. His calm expression finally changed. Confusion, then realization. He slowly looked at Elara. You knew. Elara smiled through tears. I hoped. The guardian looked back at Selene. The certainty he'd carried for 8 centuries began to crack. Not because she had defeated him, because the heart had made its own choice. For the very first time, the seventh warden questioned his own belief, and that single moment of doubt was enough to change everything. The crystal walls continued rising, layer after layer, each one taller than the last. Soon, the original heart tree could barely be seen through the shimmering fortress surrounding it. The seventh warden stood silently before the entrance, his enormous wings folded neatly behind him. He wasn't preparing for battle. He believed the battle had already ended. Selene stepped closer. You don't have to lock everyone out. The guardian looked down at her. I have already reached the only safe conclusion. No heart can be corrupted. If no heart can reach the heart. His voice carried no anger, no hatred, only certainty. Elara slowly walked beside Selene. Do you remember the spring festival? The guardian remained still. The children decorated your wings with flowers. A tiny flicker crossed his face. I remember. You laughed. I remember. You danced with them. I remember. Elara smiled sadly. Then remember why. The guardian fell silent. They trusted me, and I failed them. No. Elara answered gently. You protected them for centuries. You only failed when you stopped believing they could protect one another. The guardian looked toward the distant horizon. Beyond the mountains, golden lights shimmered across Starhaven. Thousands of tiny lights. Villages. Homes. Families. They forgot. Elara nodded. Yes, they did. And now they're remembering. The guardian slowly closed his eyes. Too late. Before anyone could reply, a streak of black crystal lightning crashed into the valley. The impact sent everyone stumbling. Flowers scattered across the ground. The crystal walls trembled. Lucien landed gracefully atop the highest wall. The hollow flowed around him like a living cloak. Together, they looked almost whole. He applauded slowly. What a touching reunion. I almost believed it myself. Selene stepped in front of Elara. This ends today. Lucien smiled. It already has. He pointed toward the sky. Everyone looked up. Across Starhaven, 5 brilliant pillars of golden light suddenly appeared. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The remaining 5 wardens. Their corruption had vanished. The rescue teams had succeeded. The villagers, the healers, the teachers, the fishermen, the blacksmiths, the ordinary cats of Starhaven had freed every single guardian. Cheers echoed across the mountains. Maribel laughed through tears. They did it. They actually did it. Even Aurelia smiled. My kingdom came home. Lucien's smile disappeared. For the first time, his carefully planned future had slipped beyond his control. No. They were supposed to choose themselves. They were supposed to abandon strangers. They were supposed to panic. They always panic. The hollow suddenly recoiled. Its body shrank noticeably. Cracks spread across its dark crystal form. Our fear, it hissed, is disappearing. Lucien clenched his fists. No. I still have one move. He lifted both hands. Dark crystal exploded beneath his feet. Instead of attacking the kingdom, the energy rushed directly toward him. The hollow looked confused. What are you doing? Lucien smiled. A smile unlike any before. Peaceful. Resolved. I'm finishing what I started. The hollow's eyes widened. No. You need me. Lucien shook his head. I never did. Before the hollow could escape, Lucien embraced it. The shadow screamed. It tried to pull away, but Lucien held on. Black crystal raced across his body. Golden light erupted from the heart tree. The mountain shook. The sky split with light. Selene realized what was happening. He's merging with it. Cassian looked horrified. If he succeeds, there won't be 2 enemies anymore. There'll only be one. A blinding flash consumed the valley. For several long seconds, no one could see. When the light faded, Lucien stood alone. The hollow had vanished. Every trace of darkness now flowed beneath his skin like rivers of black crystal. His eyes shimmered with both crimson and gold. He looked at his own paws, almost curious. So, this is what balance feels like. He raised one hand. Without effort, The crystal walls surrounding the heart tree began breaking apart, not because he attacked them, because the heart itself responded to him. The seventh warden spread his wings protectively. Step away from the heart. Lucian looked up. I can't. I am part of it now. The heart tree suddenly pulsed. Once. Twice. 3 times. Then, something impossible happened. The tree didn't answer Lucian. It answered Selene. A single golden leaf drifted gently from the highest branch. It floated through the battlefield, past Aurelius, past Alara, past Cassion, past Orion, until it landed softly in Selene's paw. The Heartkeeper's mark glowed brighter than ever before. The seventh warden stared. His calm expression finally changed. Confusion, then realization. He slowly looked at Alara. You knew. Alara smiled through tears. I hoped. The guardian looked back at Selene. The certainty he'd carried for 8 centuries began to crack. Not because she had defeated him, because the heart had made its own choice. For the very first time, the seventh warden questioned his own belief. And that single moment of doubt was enough to change everything. The golden leaf rested gently in Selene's paw. It wasn't glowing. It wasn't warm. It was simply alive. The entire valley stood motionless. No one dared speak. Even the wind seemed to pause. The seventh warden lowered his head. His golden eyes never left the leaf. The heart, he whispered, has chosen. Lucian laughed. Not loudly, not wildly, just once. It made the wrong choice. He stepped toward the original heart tree. Dark crystal swirled around his paws. The mountain trembled beneath each step. I spent 8 centuries understanding fear. I studied every kingdom, every war, every betrayal, every broken promise. He looked at Selene. And you expect me to believe that kindness will erase all of it? Selene slowly shook her head. No. Lucian frowned. It won't erase it. It helps us choose differently. Silence. Lucian stared at her, almost disappointed. You still don't understand. He lifted one paw. The air rippled. Suddenly, the valley disappeared. The greenhouse vanished. The heart tree vanished. The mountains vanished. Everyone found themselves standing inside a vast crystal plain beneath a star-filled sky. Countless floating mirrors surrounded them. Each one reflected a different moment in history. Wars, floods, famines, families arguing, friends betraying friends, kings choosing pride, neighbors choosing fear. Lucian walked calmly through them. This, he said, is your kingdom. Every mirror showed suffering. Not a single happy memory. Selene looked around. Where are the rest? Lucian smiled. There are no rest. Selene quietly walked to the nearest mirror. She touched it. Instead of breaking, the image changed. The war ended. Enemies helped rebuild homes together. She touched another. The flood became a rescue. Another. A lonely child found a family. Another. A frightened village welcomed strangers. The mirrors hadn't lied. They had simply stopped too soon. Selene looked at Lucian. You always leave before people choose better. His expression froze. You only remember the worst chapter. You never stay for the ending. Around them, more mirrors changed. The carpenter helping strangers. The baker feeding travelers. The children sharing ribbons. Celestia laying down her sword. Cassion refusing to abandon the wardens. Aurelius admitting his greatest mistake. Alara forgiving him. The mirrors filled with hope. Not perfect endings. Better choices. Lucian looked away. No. Those are exceptions. Selene smiled softly. They're becoming a habit. The crystal plane cracked. The illusion began collapsing. The Real Valley returned. The original heart tree glowed brighter than ever. The seventh warden slowly spread his wings. Not to imprison. To protect. But this time, he stood beside Selene. Not in front of her. I was wrong. The ancient guardian bowed his head. I believe protecting the heart meant trusting no one. He looked toward the villagers gathered throughout the valley. The healers. The teachers. The children. The bakers. The travelers. I forgot. The heart was never meant to beat alone. The crystal walls surrounding the heart tree dissolved into millions of tiny lights. Instead of disappearing, they floated outward. Across the valley. Across the mountains. Across all of Starhaven. Every village received one. Every family received one. Every child received one. Tiny fragments of heart light. Not enough to grant power. Enough to remind. Lucian watched silently. You've scattered its strength. Alara smiled. No. We've shared its responsibility. The original heart tree burst into brilliant golden light. Its roots spread beneath every floating island. Every crystal anchor. Every river. Every forest. Every home. For the first time in centuries, the kingdom was connected again. Not through magic. Through trust. Lucian looked around. He could feel it. The fear he had nurtured for centuries was fading. The darkness beneath his skin flickered. The hollow's voice echoed faintly. We're disappearing. Lucian closed his eyes. I know. When he opened them again, the anger was gone. Only exhaustion remained. He looked at Aurelius. We were both afraid. Aurelius nodded. Yes. I just admitted it sooner. Lucian gave a small, tired laugh. 800 years late. Is still sooner than me. Selene stepped forward. It doesn't have to end like this. Lucian looked at her. For someone who barely knows me, you offer far too many second chances. Selene smiled. I only offer one. What you do with it is your choice. Lucian looked up at the glowing heart tree. At Alara. At Aurelius. At the kingdom beyond the mountains. For the first time, he saw not a kingdom waiting to fail, but one trying to become better. A single black, crystal shard drifted from his chest. Then another. Then another. The hollow was leaving him. It shrieked as it separated. Smaller now. Weaker than ever before. It fled toward the sky, trying desperately to escape. The seventh warden's wings spread. Not this time. With one powerful beat of his wings, golden feathers filled the air. They surrounded the fleeing shadow, wrapping it in warm light instead of chains. The hollow screamed. Then, its voice became quieter, smaller, sadder. Finally, the darkness dissolved into thousands of tiny black butterflies. As they flew through the golden light, their wings slowly changed. Black to silver. They scattered across Starhaven, never to become fear again. Only memories. Lucian collapsed to one knee. Weak. Mortal. Free. The storm clouds broke apart. Sunlight poured across the valley. Children laughed again. Birds returned to the sky. Flowers opened. The original heart tree shimmered peacefully. Selene looked around. The battle was over. At long last, Starhaven was finally home. 1 year later, spring returned to Starhaven, not because magic commanded it, because the kingdom had healed. Pastel flowers covered every floating island. Crystal rivers sparkled beneath warm sunlight. Rainbow bridges connected villages that had once stood divided. The heart crystal shone brighter than anyone could remember. Its light no longer belonged to a palace. It belonged to everyone. In Meadow District, the elderly baker opened his shop before sunrise. A small bell jingled above the door. Children rushed inside, laughing. Good morning, Mr. Rowan. The old baker grinned. You're early. We're hungry. That's because you're growing. He handed each kitten a warm honey bun. Pay me when you're older. The children smiled. We will. The baker chuckled quietly. He knew they probably wouldn't. That wasn't why he gave them away. Across the kingdom, the crystal elephant helped rebuild the royal library. The crystal bear planted forests where landslides had scarred the mountains. The great eagle carried medicine to distant floating islands. The silver wolf guided travelers through the northern woods. The crystal serpent restored rivers that had long ago run dry. The great stag watched over the western cliffs where storms often struck. And high above the original heart tree, the seventh warden circled the skies, not guarding the heart from the kingdom, watching over the kingdom with the heart. He no longer stood alone. Children often flew beside him on crystal gliders. They waved every time he passed. Eventually, he started waving back. Cashin laughed the first time he saw it. I never thought I'd see the day. Selene smiled. Neither did he. The royal palace. The palace had changed. There were no longer separate entrances for nobles and villagers. No guards turned away ordinary citizens with questions. Once each week, the throne room became an open meeting hall. Any cat could speak. Any cat could be heard. The king and queen still ruled, but they listened far more than they spoke. Celestia had chosen a different path. Instead of becoming commander of the royal guard, she opened the Starhaven Academy, a place where young cats learned history, not the edited version, the true one. They studied courage, kindness, mistakes, forgiveness, and why every generation must choose them again. On the first page of every history book, one sentence appeared. A kingdom is strongest when every heart matters. The Heart Garden. Selene knelt beside the original heart tree. The crystal seed given to her by the first warden had grown into a beautiful young tree nearby. Its tiny branches were already covered with pastel blossoms. Ilara joined her. You've done well. Selene smiled. We all did. Ilara nodded. Exactly. The breeze carried laughter through the valley. Children chased butterflies between the gardens. Musicians played gentle songs beneath the cherry blossoms. Families picnicked beside the crystal river. Everything felt peaceful. Not perfect, just peaceful. Lucian quietly approached from the opposite side of the garden. He wore simple gray clothes. No armor, no symbols, no crown. He spent his days helping gardeners rebuild terraces damaged during the battle. Some villagers still distrusted him. Others didn't. He accepted both without complaint. He stopped beside Selene. I planted those roses. Selene looked toward a flowered bed blooming with soft blue blossoms. They're beautiful. Lucian smiled faintly. I finally stayed long enough to see something grow. Neither of them spoke for a while. Sometimes, silence was enough. A familiar voice suddenly called from across the garden. Princess! The little kitten from Meadow District came running, now slightly taller than before, still smiling, still carrying too much enthusiasm for his own legs. He nearly tripped before reaching Selene. I have a question. Selene laughed. You always do. The kitten looked up at the enormous heart tree. Who's going to protect Starhaven now? Selene looked around. She saw gardeners, teachers, builders, healers, travelers, children, wardens, friends, family. She smiled. We all are. The kitten nodded seriously. Good. That sounds easier. Everyone laughed. Even the seventh warden. His deep chuckle echoed across the valley like distant thunder. Above them, the heart crystal shimmered, not brighter because a hero had saved it, brighter because an entire kingdom had remembered one simple truth. No single heart carries the future alone. But together, they can light the whole sky. Final scene. The camera slowly rises above Starhaven, past the pastel forests, past the floating islands, past the crystal waterfalls. The kingdom glows beneath the evening sun. Crystal birds soar through the clouds. Children laugh in distant villages. The wardens patrol peacefully across the horizon. At the center of it all, Selene stands beneath the original heart tree, smiling as petals drift around her. She isn't standing above the kingdom. She's standing among it. The screen slowly fades to white. Every generation will face fear. Every generation will make mistakes. But every generation also has the chance to choose kindness again. And perhaps that choice is the greatest magic of all. The end. Pawprints, thank you for watching Cats and AI. If Selene's journey made you smile, laugh, or even tear up a little, don't forget to subscribe and follow. Every like, comment, and share helps this little corner of Starhaven grow, and who knows, the algorithm might decide you're officially part of the Royal Council now. We'd love to have you back for the next adventure.